All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I've been talking a lot about this Sony camera right here. This is the Sony A7R5. How it's the perfect camera in so many ways, but for some reason, it just doesn't seem to connect with me. I talked about all the things I like about it. The fact that it's 61 megapixels, the autofocus is amazing. It's got the screen that does this, but it also does this. That's really, really cool. And it's just one of those cameras that really, really works. But the problem I've had with it, and I'm not to complain because it's an amazing camera, but is, first of all, I don't like the straight out of camera colors much. I think they take a lot of work if you're editing. Ergonomically, there's some things left to be desired. And I come from a place of trying every single camera ever in the existence of mankind. And I can tell you that every other brand does it better. Honestly, Olympus does it better. Panasonic does it better, or did it better. We'll talk about that. Let's see. I think Canon does it better. I think Nikon does it better. They just do. They just do. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. Some things that I think are a big difference. And big reveal, there's a gas moment coming up. I don't want to hurt anyone's brains. This is the Lumix S1, the original Lumix S1. Don't ask why I have it in my hands. It was super cheap. And I like the SL2. Okay. And anyways, we'll go back to this in just a second. This camera, amongst a couple others I could name, is a prime example of versus Sony. Now, outside of the resolution, and the autofocus, and that's a big one, by the way, I would say this camera destroys this camera from a feel perspective and just overall usability. You might be saying to yourself, Eric, come on, that's ridiculous. But I'm going to show you why. Now, again, take away the sensor megapixels, which is a big one, I know, and the autofocus. It's ultimately what killed these cameras and why the new Lumix cameras are much more appealing. And it can be argued the screen, right? Flip screen for me, I use it for video, but some people prefer the Fuji XT3, XT5 type screen where it does the multiple thing. I like this screen a lot for photography specifically. But I'll give you some examples of why this camera body is far superior than the Sony A7R5 body. Now, obviously this is a bigger body, but in hand, ergonomically, this Lumix S1 feels just incredible. It fits right around my fingers. It's perfect, and my finger lands right on the shutter just perfectly, okay? The second thing is, look right here in the grip. Can you guys see right here in the grip? If I can get that to show right here. There are two buttons right here that my fingers land right on. Fuji does this too, and it's awesome. I can quickly activate or deactivate face tracking, eye tracking if I wanted to, and I can maybe save this for some other thing that I want to do, whether it's a crop mode or whatever it might be. But boom, right here, perfectly where my fingers land, like a glove in my hands. Amazing. I love it. Second thing, top of this camera, actually contrast. Sony doesn't have that, okay? There's no button here at all because there's no room between the grip and the lens mount. The second is the buttons on top. You see this right here? This quickly has exposure comp, ISO, white balance, things that I access regularly. And oh, by the way, there's still three dials. There's a dial here, and a dial here, okay? But exposure compensation, white balance, and ISO. Top of this camera, what do you get? Again, this is a photography specific camera. You get a record button and a C2 button. You want to change the white balance? Maybe you can map that C2 button if you want. You want to change the ISO? I guess you can change it. It's one of these three wheels, but not as accessible from a button perspective. And exposure compensation, you want to do that? Instead of hitting the exposure compensation button on top and just hitting the wheel, no, you have to go and unlock this and then scroll. And again, not a big deal, nitpicking, but much, much, much prefer this style to access those three things than what this has to offer. Here's the other thing. Let's say you have multiple modes you want to get into. This little thing right here, much like the Fuji's, like the SCM switch, similar. You can go to mode 1 to mode 2 right here on the front of the camera. I like that. That's just a quick flip. It reminds me of the Olympus settings lever, the F1, or the setting 1, setting 2. I like that. It's like Lumix stole that from them. What about the actual camera itself? Well, this camera has a little button on top to illuminate the screen on top and the buttons in back. maybe not a huge deal, but if you're doing Astro or something, like seeing your buttons, I like that quite a bit. That's awesome. The second thing is the joystick. It's infinitely easier to use on the back of this camera than this camera. It's not even close. The other thing, because I'm using a manual focus lens on this Sony right now, this is a Voigtlander 35-1.2, to go into manual focus, again, unless I'm doing something wrong, I had to dumpster dive into the menus and click it over into manual focus. This camera, it's right here. It's on the back. Can you guys see that? There's a switch up top that goes from single to continuous to manual focus. I just like it better. Oh, and you want to change the orientation of your autofocus grid? It's this button right here on the back. This one right here on top. You just click in there. You can go from area to one small point, change the shape. Here's my point. Everything on this camera, and similarly like older DSLRs, I would even say Fuji bodies, like XT camera bodies or even XH camera bodies, is easily accessible for the most part from the buttons that are available to you right where your hands land most of the time. This is what frustrates me with the Sony camera. Again, maybe I'm just stupid. It's possible because people love Sony and they use it and they just learn it. I get it. But like for me, I feel like I'm going into the menus too much. I have to go find things too much. And maybe it's just because I haven't set up my like custom function dials very much in a good way. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's where Sony lives, is going into custom 1, 2, and 3, and then just using the camera, movie, and then S and Q switch to bounce between the different settings for video and photo specific profiles. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But like for some reason, I know this A7R5 is a far superior camera to this Sony A1. Now this camera, I think brand new, is still like, I don't know, $4,000, give or take. You can buy it used for like $3,000 or $2,500 maybe if you find a good deal. I got a good deal on this one. This you can buy used for like $700. Full frame camera. The other thing too is the colors part of it. And I'll switch over in just a second. The cameras out of the Panasonic and the Fuji cameras and the just better. They just are. Like they're easier to manipulate and post. They're better straight out of camera in my opinion. And for funsies, I'm going to flip over and do some video. I'm going to put the same Voigtlander manual focus lens because I don't have a lens for this S1. I just have this Voigtlander lens. So we're going to flip over here and I'm going to do S-Log3. And I'll, I guess, grade, if you will, S-Log3. And then I'll put it in V-Log and we'll do that as well in just a second. Let's do that. We'll come right back. All right. I'm in a manual focus lens. I'm using the screen. The Voigtlander 35-1.2, it says my hat, my chin are in focus, my eyes, so hopefully this is sharp. I'm at f4 because I have to be, because S-Log3, at least the way I have it set up, could be user error. ISO 800 is kind of like the native starting point, and so that's what I've got here. And this is kind of one of the key points. With this Sony, I am able to use this screen I'm looking at to say, hey, I'm in focus, this is good. I can't do this with the S1. I have to put a monitor on top of my camera, which, thank you, ShillTube, YouTube, I am able to do no problem. But this is what the camera looks like, the Sony looks like. When I just go in and apply a standard S-Log3 to Rec 709 Sony LUT that's baked into DaVinci. Now, of course, you can go do sorts of custom LUTs like a Phantom LUT and all this different stuff. But this is what it looks like. And this is probably where the Sony wins from a screen perspective. But I think this looks okay. And I'm only doing this to show you what it kind of looks like, because now I want to flip over to the Lumix S1 and go to V-Log, and I've always personally liked V-Log colors a little bit better. So hold on, let me flip back over to the Lumix S1 here. Okay, is this in focus? Maybe right there? Looks like it is right there. Okay, so this is the Lumix S1, and this is V-Log. Now, I had to set up this crazy, take a picture, I'll show you guys, setup to make this happen. Check this out. This is ridiculous. I had to set this up. And of course I'm using manual focus, so whatever. But this is where the S1 falls down. I have to set the stupid monitor up. Like if I had autofocus lenses, you can't really trust them because it's like the old DFD crap. And then like you had to set a monitor up anyways. You can maybe make it work if you lock it off. But that's where the Sony absolutely destroys this. But my point is, as we finish this video, is that I, just out of curiosity, out of a whim, picked up this used S1 just for fun. Because I remember liking the camera, but ultimately the lack of flip screen and the autofocus was the biggest killer for it. And I picked it up and I instantly knew why the Sonys don't feel comfortable to me. And it has to do with all the things I talked about, with the buttons, the grip that fits a little bit better in your hands, the quick way to change your modes, which I know there's the mode dial on top, but the white balance, ISO. It sounds like I'm complaining, because I guess I am a little bit, but I think that's what it is. And I would tell you, like, I could say the same thing. It's not just this Lumix S1. Don't compare it to this Lumix X1. I would tell you that the Fuji X-H2 probably is one of those cameras that feels better in my hands. Similar setup. I would tell you that the Olympus OM1 feels better in my hands. And candidly, I'll tell you that the reason why I'm not shooting Panasonic, the new ones, is because the new body that they went to outside of the flip screen, it feels cheaper than this. It doesn't feel as high quality. The EVF in this Lumix is fantastic. The bigger grip feels good. The mode dial selector, the two buttons on the front of the camera, the way they have the backlighting lit up in the top screen, it reminds me of like a high quality DSLR. I don't think Lumix makes a camera today that's as good as the original S1, S1R, S1H in terms of build quality. I just don't think that they do. And so for me, I picked up the S5, S5 II, and they just felt cheap to me. They didn't feel the same. They didn't feel like high quality. And this camera, this S1, feels incredibly high quality. And for me, like, if I could make this S1 work at 1/4 the price of what this A7R5 is, I would do it. Because money in my pocket to go on vacation is more important than having a $6,000 camera. And you know what? I have to shoot my daughter's senior portraits at the end of the month. Like, the Sony's probably the better option because the autofocus is so reliable. I could just trust it and track it, right? Like, it's great. But I tell you, I'd probably rather shoot on the S1 or an XH2 or an OM1 because ergonomically in my hands, it just feels better. So I know this sounds like a complaining video. The Sony's excellent. Don't get offended, Sony fanboys. I'm just telling you, go pick up a camera like the S1 or an XH2 or a Nikon DSLR or whatever, and you quickly realize why these cameras, at least for me, just feels like something's a little off in your mind. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I'll be back. I got more thoughts on the Deluxe 8. I've had a few days to use it now. I already have like 4 or 5 pros and 4 or 5 cons I like about the camera. I'll come back with that video shortly. And hopefully this wasn't too distracting. See ya.